Nick Underhill gives his thoughts on Kellen Moore's first press conference, and James Skrmetta, the face of the franchise, gives his thoughts on Nick Underhill giving his thoughts on Kellen Moore's first press conference. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Today, we are going to do exactly what the title says. Now, if you want to see me react to the entire press conference, all 1+ hours of that video, it's on the channel, so go check that out. But I do want to hear what Nicholas has to say because he was in the room. He was in the room asking questions. Him, Mike Triplett, Cat Terrell, heard a few of them were there. So, it's one thing for me to give my take, but Nick has been, face-to-face with Kellen, face-to-face with Dennis Allen, face-to-face with Mickey Loomis, with all these guys. So it's one thing to see a video of somebody. It's another thing to be in the room. You can feel a presence. You can feel a charisma much more. Now, you may say, James, you get a haircut? I did get a haircut. Shout out my guy, Johnny Angel, for the haircut. All right. Let's get this started, shall we?
What's up, guys? Just leaving the Saints. Just got done with the Kellen Moore press conference and introduction of him as the head coach of the Saints. So, kind of, I thought he did pretty good. I thought it was a pretty good press conference. The thing that I would use is the word I would come out of it. The word that's in my head is just that it was very authentic. And
true. Yeah, it was authentic. And Kellen Moore is an authentic cat. And, he is who he is. No doubt about that. And it's gotten him to a pretty good spot for being 36 years old and you're about to be the head coach of the Saints. And I really enjoyed listening to Kellen Moore. And I think when you go through those interviews or press conferences or whatever, some coaches will stick to like a script. And I don't mean like a literal script, but they'll stick to what they know is safe, what they know they should be saying, how they should be talking, buzzword this, buzzword that. The PR teams, I guarantee you have trained them. It seemed to me like Kellen Moore was answering those questions the same way he would answer them in his living room, right? What you'd be doing in his living room, asking him questions, I don't know. Maybe he should call the police. But it was incredibly authentic, and it was very reassuring. I mean, I came out of it more confident, and I have been incredibly confident in the hire, but hearing that interview, I came out of it, I was on cloud nine. I really was. I think Kellen Moore, I would be flabbergasted and befuddled if he does not succeed as the Saints head coach.
And he didn't try to do too much. He didn't try to be someone else. He didn't try to go up there and try to make an impression that, in a way that isn't authentic to him. I think he made his own impression the way that Kellen Moore would. And the guy that we talked to all last week at the Super Bowl is the same guy that was up there today.
There you go.
And I think that consistency is going to help him quite a bit. I think there is some presence there with him. And
there you go.
I think he's just very comfortable with who he is. And
let me say this too. Absolute dedication to the road. Look at this. Nick knows there's a camera there. He doesn't care. He's focused on the road. He's focused on oncoming traffic, okay? He's focused on pedestrian safety. This is what you want to see. He is absolutely checking. Is there a car coming? Can I go? Are we good to go? This is what you want in your driver. Hey, Nick, 2 things. 1, when are you going to send me one of these New Orleans football pullovers? Number 2, little golden tidbit from the face of the franchise. What if you got those Meta Ray-Ban glasses, okay, with the camera in the front, and you did these videos, but we kept flipping back and forth between this camera and the Meta glasses so that we could actually see the navigation, like right here. Boom. You flip the camera, guess what? I'm staring down the barrel of oncoming traffic. Now I'm nervous. Now I'm shaken up. Now I don't know what to do with myself. Now I'm on a motion ride. Okay, I'm getting a little sick. I'm getting a little car sick. Boom, we flip camera, bam, now I'm right back into it.
He knows who he is, and I think if he's going to succeed as a head coach, that guy that showed up last week at the Super Bowl, that showed up today, is going to be the same guy that shows up tomorrow. And I think the key to him being successful in this is knowing how to do that. And look, some people get over their skis a little bit in these positions and try to be someone else and try to do something else and try to present, oh, I'm going to go up there and do it like Dan Campbell, or I'm going to go up there and, do it like Nick Sirianni. But you got to go up there and do it as yourself. And, I think that's what we saw today. So I think it's off to a decent start on that.
Good point, too. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. So he did this on Thursday. On Sunday, Kellen was winning the Super Bowl. Okay? So you win the Super Bowl, you get the head coaching job of the New Orleans Saints, and then you're asked to go do your introductory press conference. A lot of people would put on an act. A lot of people would say, I need to puff my chest out. I need to be a rah-rah guy. I need to say some stupid shit like we've seen other people say. I need to come up with a catchphrase, or I need to come up with something. Kellen said nah, which is kudos to him, like just as a human being, to not let the Super Bowl win and then all the other stuff kind of change his. That's how comfortable this guy is with who he is.
Up front, I don't know what it means to win a press conference or anything like that. And I don't know, what the takeaways are going to be nationally or whatever. But I think for Kellen Moore, this was a good showing for him. And I like what we saw up there. Yeah. I like what he had to say about leadership and how there's a lot of different ways to do it, and how you have to lead a lot of different ways in the job, and you got to be willing to make people uncomfortable and all that. I thought that was a good message for this. That's kind of what it looked like from afar. That there needs to be more willingness.
I hear the sirens, so I didn't know where the sirens were coming from. The sirens are coming from downtown New Orleans, right outside of the studios. For a second, I thought Nick was involved in a high-speed chase.
Just to make people uncomfortable. Hell, 2 years ago, Mickey Loomis said that after this season. Not after this season, the season before. Like, he went down and talked to the locker room and then came back and, told the media, hey, look, we got to get comfortable with making people uncomfortable. Yeah. And Kellen Moore comes in day one saying, hey, that's how you lead. I mean, I like that. I like that message. So we'll see how it translates. There's no guarantees with anything, and there's no promises that when it, saying the right thing at the press conference means that's how it's going to go or anything. But I thought it was a good start.
I'll tell you what you can put the kibosh on. What you can put the kibosh on is this whole what we heard about how Kellen Moore doesn't have any personality, or Kellen Moore can't. They made him sound like he was mute. They made him sound like he couldn't talk to somebody, or he's never talked to somebody in his life. And they were like, how is he going to communicate? How is he going to talk to players? How is he going to do this? How is he going to do that? I think that press conference should absolutely put a lot of that, if there was any worry about that, it should put a lot of that away.
It was a good start. I thought it was a pretty good impression. I thought the most interesting thing, obviously, is the Derek Carr stuff. And, I
guess he's parked. Breaking news?
I thought one of the most interesting things was the Derek Carr stuff, and the fact that there wasn't really a firm answer. And that might not mean anything. It might be that Derek.
Y'all hear this? Guys, I'm trying to do a video. The face of the franchise. I look, you can certainly take the Derek Carr question and answer part of this and really run with it if you wanted to. You could really push that thing. But I think at the base level, first evolution level, Squirtle level, okay, I think you could say it was non-committal. And if you're non-committal to your franchise quarterback with about 40 days to decide if he is your franchise quarterback, I think that speaks volumes.
Derek Carr is eventually the quarterback. But, and I don't think I'm being unfair here, but I think if he is absolutely your quarterback, that's an easy thing to say on day one.
Yeah.
I don't think...
Yes.
When Kellen Moore took over the Los Angeles Chargers offensive coordinator job, and granted, it's not his decision then necessarily on who the starting quarterback is, but I don't think it would have been a hard question to answer who the starting quarterback was for the Chargers in 2023. And I don't think it would have been a hard question to answer who the starting quarterback was for his Cowboys teams.
Well, not to mention, you would assume the conversation had been had with him and Mickey Loomis of what they're going to do with Derek Carr. They would have at least an idea. He wouldn't have taken the job if he's like, no, we'll figure it out later. There would have been a conversation. And like Nick said, if that conversation was, no, I want Derek Carr to be my quarterback, it's a very easy thing to say that. It's a very easy thing to sit up there and say, no, I think Derek Carr is the quarterback. Derek Carr is our quarterback. No, he's the guy. Whatever. But he didn't.
To not come out and immediately say it is, it stands out. And look, even if he ends up being the quarterback, I think that's smart. I think it's smart to do it. I mean, that's not a guy that necessarily deserves like a full-on endorsement. He's not Drew Brees, and it is something that you probably want to look at and evaluate and see where you kind of go with it. But the other players are paying attention today too, and they kind of know. Yeah. They know who everybody is in that locker room, and you know, there's only a handful of guys in there that I think should be guaranteed anything. And
yeah.
Alvin Kamara is someone that should be guaranteed.
I was about to say Alvin, and I mean, like Alvin on the roster right now. Alvin, DeMario. That's probably it. Like, am I missing somebody? That's probably the only guys where you're like, yeah, I mean, y'all are the leaders. You're the anchor of the defense, anchor of the offense. Like, we're gonna go as far as y'all can take us.
Guaranteed something, and that might be it. Like, DeMario, I don't think anybody really deserves to be guaranteed anything.
Hell no.
And I think the players hearing that, I think that's something that's gonna resonate, and not because it is Derek Carr, just because the coach is willing to let everything kind of be open for interpretation. Everything that's supposed to be open for interpretation is open for debate. Interpretation is open for you got to prove it, I guess is the phrase that I'm looking for here. And the fact that he wouldn't just come out and say it, I mean, I think that's telling. And I like it. I like that you're coming in that way. It isn't, there's no coddling. There's no, hey, this is the guy. No, like, you got to earn it. And if you're the 20th best player in the league at your position, like, you got to earn it. And I like that he's willing to do it that way. Not everybody's going to come in and do that. And I mean, if we're looking for signs of leadership and signs of being able to kind of grip a situation and do what you got to do, like going up there and having
the testicular fortitude,
the gall or the gumption or the courage or whatever word you want to use, like whatever it is, having that and being able to go up there and be like, look, like you gotta prove it, and it hasn't been proven yet.
This is something I was talking about for a week now, is the Saints have had a bad habit of taking really average players and trying to see if they can make something out of them and putting all these resources and time into these players. And I'm still hearing people ask about Kendra Miller or MVS or Dante Pettis or Mason Tipton or whoever, some 5th string, 6th string, player. Everything that has happened up until now, just Control-Alt-Delete Task Manager in task. Forget it, because we are at a whole new chapter of the New Orleans Saints. We are rebuilding, sort of, the roster, the books, the financials. We have a 36-year-old head coach. He's bringing in his entire new staff, none of which have any ties to this team. So what Dennis Allen did, what Clint Kubiak did, what Pete Carmichael did, what Joe Woods did, what Sean Payton did, what whoever did, none of that matters. We are entering a whole new era. So, 3rd string players that could barely even crack the roster in the last couple of years, forget about it. Not to say that, you cut them or anything, but it is all about who's up next. It is all about who are the next draft picks, who's the next Michael Thomas, who's the next Mark Ingram, who's the next whoever, Marshawn Lattimore, who's the next Cam Jordan, who are the next players, who's the next Jimmy Graham, who are the next couple of guys. I keep using this metaphor, but when I go to a bar or go to a restaurant or whatever, it's always the same plaques and the same newspapers and the same pictures that are framed up on the wall. And it's always the same players. There will be new newspapers. There will be new moments and pictures, and all of that is coming. All of that is about to happen. So we're in like a hypothetical kind of world here where you got to visualize forward. There's no time to look in the past. There's no time to look backwards. What happened, happened. Okay? We don't have to try and force Mason Tipton into figuring out how to be a, 60 catch, 500 yard a year kind of guy. Like, we don't have to do that. Now it's go get better players. Go fill this roster up with good players. That's where we're at now. And as a fan, that's very exciting. As someone has a rooting interest in this team, it's a very exciting place to be.
I like it. I like it. Like, it could go any direction. They're going to evaluate it. They're going to find out. I like it. I like that nobody's being gifted anything. Everybody's starting out at zero. It's a new day. Yep. It isn't the Raiders, contingent over here anymore. Like, it's a new setting, and I'm gonna go from there. And I like it. A lot of stuff that we would have asked him, like we already asked him last week. So, him saying he's gonna call plays, we already knew that. He told us he was gonna do that whenever he became a head coach last week. Some of the stuff on where they are, it did stand out to me that he mentioned how competitive it is, like the roster, and that they see an opportunity in the NFC South, but also want to build it the right way, which
makes sense.
That's kind of what we've seen. That's kind of what's expected. That's kind of what they've been doing. So I think the idea of just kind of ripping it down is probably not a thing, but
like ripping it down is something that really isn't a thing in general, unless you have accidentally ripped it down because your team is just so bad. But even this, I keep saying rebuild, and I keep putting it in quotes because it's not the stereotypical rebuild, because there is talent in places on this roster. Like if you look at the division, okay, you look at the Saints, you look at the Panthers. One is in like one people I think would be more bullish on because Bryce Young had a decent end to the season. But if you look at the two rosters, it's like, well, there's pieces there. Like you would say that the Saints probably have higher ceiling players on their roster, but because Bryce Young is a quarterback, you may say the Panthers, but both teams would say, no, we're trending up to where we can compete in the division. Neither team would say, well, we're bottoming out so that we can rebuild or whatever. But both of them are kind of in a rebuild. So the idea of a rebuild being synonymous with bad players or bad performance even, or, whatever, a lot of the time it's not the case. And the Saints were, before the injuries and everything else, they were beating Philadelphia with a minute left. They were down to the last play against Washington. They had a chance to beat the Rams. Like, even when they were gutted, even when they were absolutely gutted, this is a team that still competed with the best of the best. And this is a team where some players, Alvin Kamara, and some players were having really good years, and some players were set to do some really big things, and some of those players are back. So players like Talise Fuaga, where you get another year under your belt, and how good can he be? Like Eric McCoy, one of the best centers in the NFL, was injured last year. He's coming back. So you add a couple pieces to the draft. I don't think this team is as bad. I'm not saying the Saints are going to win the division. I'm not saying the Saints are going to be a 10-win team, anything like that. But this isn't a team you look at and you're like, oh yeah, this is the worst team in the NFL. This is the first overall pick, no doubt about it. This is just a gutted roster. I would not say that.
Yeah, I mean, those are kind of the big takeaways, though. But I liked them. I liked them as last week talking to him. I liked him up at the podium today. I think he did a pretty good job. I think he handled himself pretty well. Ultimately, you're going to end up proving it on the field. They're going to have to build the right team and all that stuff. There's a lot of other interesting things, but I'm gonna save those for my take on those things for a write up on NOF. So make sure you sign up to the site, New Orleans Football. /subscribe. Use the code NOF, 20% off your first payment. Got all the coverage on Kellen Moore, a ton of stuff on there. Mike actually just talked to Jason Garrett kind of about what he saw in Kellen Moore.
That'll be interesting. Garrett obviously was the beginning of Kellen's career before Garrett got canned. But that would be an interesting read to see what Garrett thought of him back then and what he sees that has evolved now.
More of that that gave him that.
And I mean, Garrett also saw him as a player, so real crazy, kind of crazy, view.
That courage to promote him from quarterback to QB coach way back, and that's a good read. That's a good read. So definitely check that out. But yeah, look, it's different. It's different, and I'm excited about different. I'm excited about different.
That has got to be one of the most exciting parts, is that this is different, and it's different in all the right ways. Like, it checks all the boxes. Young, successful team, offensive, no connection to the team, no connection to former players or coaches or whatever. Like, this is different. This is, I'm not going to say the results are the same, but it's got to feel so similar to the Sean Payton situation, where it's just so different than previously. It's so different than Haslett or what was happening in New Orleans before. And you're like, you got a young guy, prove yourself kind of guy, doing things a very different way, going at things totally different than how it had happened previously. So yeah, it's the right time for this.
I'm excited about something new. It's been a while since there's been something new. What is it, 19 years now?
Yeah.
Since Sean got hired, I believe. That's right, math, right? Yeah, it's 2025, 19 years.
Yeah.
19 years since Sean got hired, and they finally got a new coach, a new philosophy, a new identity, a new direction, and it's all starting from scratch. And, it's somebody that just really likes football, and if you're a person that just really likes football, it's been a while since we just been able to talk about football, like in the prism of football, not with the specter of job security hanging over it, not with the specter of right offensive coordinator hanging over it. It's been a while. It felt like it was getting kind of like a little bit last year. When they finally got Kubiak, it was like, all right, cool, like we can talk about football again, and it's going to be solid. And then they win a couple games, and it's like, all right, they're going to be relevant. And then they weren't. And for it feels like 3 years now, at least 2. Like, we just have not been able to talk about football.
Yeah.
Like, just for the sake of football. Like, I hate having every conversation through the prism of job security, and you can't.
I mean, it's been a crazy. Since Breeze retired, you've got everything has been either injuries, or this guy getting fired, or this guy getting hired, or this guy needs to be fired, or this guy needs to be hired. Like, you go from the Winston injuries to, the Dalton situation, and then all of a sudden it's like, then you're not even relevant, because it's like you're not winning. Like, how far can you really go with that combination of quarterbacks? And then the Carr situation, but then you have Carmichael, and that's, a disaster. Then you get rid of him, bring in Kubiak. Okay, you're talking about that. Then there's more injuries. So, yeah, I mean, now you can just talk, and it really is a crazy, like, it's such a, I think that's getting lost on people, is how significant this is. This is the first time we have had a hiring of this magnitude in 20 years. 2-0. Okay? Think about that. 20 years since this has happened. That's how big of a deal this is. The Saints are not a team that rolls over and just keeps turning people over, and new coach and new identity, new culture, new this, over and over and over and over again. I mean, Sean came here. Sean left. They tried to keep that together with Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael. They still held on to Allen. Kubiak comes in. Then finally Allen gets fired. And now it's a whole new thing. But 20 years.
I say anything good because, job security and all that. And I'm just ready. I'm just ready for the fresh start. Like, it's been terrible. And I'm sure it's terrible for y'all too. Like, it's not fun when everything exists in that atmosphere. And this is a new, better, different, hopefully better, different atmosphere. And it's just time to get back to the football aspect of it. Like, nobody wants to talk about, like, for 2 years on end, like, is a dude gonna get fired? Like, that's terrible. And I want to go back to talking about that the just what they're doing and how they're doing it, and we're going to be able to do that, and that's going to make it way better. It's going to be a better experience. It's been tough. Like,
I'm excited, just as the guy who does this stuff every single day, but I'm excited. Like, this makes the draft so exciting. This makes even hiring a defensive coordinator so exciting. This makes off-season so exciting. This makes training camp so exciting. It was one thing to have Kubiak, which was exciting in itself. I think Kubiak did a good job, and I think he'll do a great job in Seattle. But, shout out the Pacific Northwest, shout out the PNW, shout out Bucks. But it's different when it's your head coach. It's different whenever it's the identity and culture of the team. I can't, look, peek behind the curtain here. There are certain weeks where making videos, it's like, damn, what the hell are we about to talk about? Like, what are we going to talk about? We're gonna watch Dennis Allen's press conference after getting dog walked and doing this, and this. Like, we're gonna, what are we about to even talk about here? Now, I'm doing 3. I think we did 8 videos in 3 days. I think it was I think it was 8 videos in 3 days, and I could have easily done 12 videos in 3 days. Easy. I had to hold off from production because I thought I was, crushing y'all with too many videos. But now, this team, at least locally, this team is as relevant as they have been since Drew Brees was here. And that's how you should feel. Whether it equates to results or not, this is the most relevant the Saints have been in a long time.
For everybody watching this team for a while. So to finally get this fresh start and have this reset, it just feels refreshing.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's energizing. And
yeah,
I'm sure it's going to be for the players and all that too. I mean, I know a lot of them had their own favorites and their own people they wanted to have in. Some guys wanted them in there. People were tweeting their support for Rizzy and all that. But I think once this gets going, and look, Rizzy would have been a fresh start too, and he probably would have done a fine job. But once this gets going, and the players feel the fresh start and all that too, I think it's going to be.
I think Rizzy would have been fine. If Rizzy would have got the job, it would have been a big conversation of like, okay, well then who's his OC? Who's his DC? And then you're putting so much stock into the OC. Rizzy's not going to carry the offense. So if Rizzy was the head coach, really it's like, all right, well now we're basing the entire offense on Mike Kafka or whoever the OC is, right? So that would have came with its own set of challenges, but this is the fact that it's the head coach is also the OC, also calling plays. Like, it's just such a more cohesive, consistent kind of identity.
I think it's going to be a nice reset for all of them as well. And they're going to feel that energy, and they're going to get all that stuff going. And I think once they get in there and they meet Kellen and they feel they feel the vibes and all that stuff, I think it's going to be a nice reset for everybody. Man, what the hell? This gas station's out.
Brutal.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they just got to get this thing started.
Hardest thing in the world is getting gas in New Orleans. Hardest thing in the world. I have lived in New Orleans for over 4 years, going on 5 years, and I have gotten gas at probably no lie, I've gotten gas at one gas station in New Orleans in over 4 years, because that's how bad it is. You get your one that you know how to get in, how to get out, the pumps work, whatever, and that's what you do. And that is the first time I've ever thought about that. That's insane. I've gotten gas at exactly one gas station the entire time I've lived here.
They're going to keep hiring the staff. They're going to keep looking for staff members. Some of that's already going. They requested the defensive pass game coordinator from the Vikings. You know, I think anybody from the Vikings defensive staff now.
What the hell is that? You should run over.
Is a good look.
Someone back there?
I think that's a good place to look. I think, obviously
you hit the curve.
Staley, I think, is an obvious candidate for that job. Moore was in.
I think if Staley gets the interview, I'd be surprised if he doesn't get the job. Like, maybe he doesn't want to do it. You never know. But I think if I hear Brandon Staley is interviewing for the DC job, I think he'll get it.
Insistent that they're going to run a true process to find him, and that does not surprise me. And that's
just how Kellen operates.
That kind of aligns him a little bit with Mickey Loomis. Like, if that's how you're thinking, like that's a good fit for Loomis, because that's how Loomis likes to do everything too. He is incredibly thorough.
That's how I like to do things.
To a frustrating degree, almost. Yeah. Like you just kind of like, all right, man, just like go hire your dude and like get this over with. But that's just not how Mickey operates. So, we're going to see how that one plays out. They got the offensive line coach, Nugent. He used to be here 2015 to 2021. And he'll be back in that capacity. He worked with Moore in 23 with the Chargers. Kind of some familiarity there. Bring him back to the building, and you get that going. Keith Washington is staying as a wide receivers coach, so that's a natural fit there. Players loved him. Was in his first year last year. Wasn't really part of that Kubiak.
Yeah, I remember in training camp, everyone kept saying how great energy Keith Washington was.
Click. So not going to Seattle with them, staying here. But look, I think the players are going to love that. They really like Keith Williams. And for that young room...
Keith Williams, excuse me. What is that, Keith Washington?
I'm having a guy, they've described Keith kind of like as like their uncle. The guy that can kind of come in and be tough on you and tell you what you don't want to hear, but what you need to hear, but do it in a way where it's not like alienating, and he's able to build you back up and kind of, show you love and everything. And I think for a relatively young room, that's not a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think he's the right guy, and he's obviously a great coach. Like before becoming a NFL coach, like he would work with Devontae Adams in the off season and Tyreek Hill in the off season, and that's just that's experience that is just invaluable,
Yeah,
I think it gives you instant credibility in that room.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this guy worked with Tyreek Hill, this guy worked with Devontae Adams. Like, okay, I'm going to listen to what he's got to say.
And those guys, they're going to be able to keep learning from him. And I think we saw, like, Shaheed showing up and looking better last year. I think we saw growth from him. Olave, I thought, was looking really good, too, until the injury.
Yeah, I mean, from everything I heard, Chris Olave was looking his best. Like, Chris Olave was at the best spot as a leader and as a locker room guy, and even on the field. And I think he was in for a huge year. I really do.
And everything. So those guys will do that. They obviously need more talent in that room, and that's something that I think
for sure
we'll see them prioritize this offseason. It's got to be a priority. So that's going to be a building area for them. But yeah, two pieces there. I wouldn't be surprised to see Jari Evans come back. I know they're going to interview a handful of guys for the special teams job. I think Phil Galliano would be a really, really smart keep for that group, but we'll see if they decide to do that. I think letting Phil go, I wouldn't do that. So that process.
I mean, look, like, this is why you subscribe to New Orleans Football. If you want this kind of insight of the wide receiver coaches and the special teams coordinator potential hires from the inside, that you ain't getting that anywhere but New Orleans Football. So yeah, that kind of stuff, that is why they are the best at what they do. I mean, they're the best beat reporters, or if you even want to put them in that category, in the NFL. I wouldn't know Phil Galliano. I wouldn't know if he walked in here right now and stole my shoes. I wouldn't know who the hell he was. So very impressive.
They'll keep playing out over the next few days, but they can't hire anyone right away. They got to run that actual process to get the coordinators. Like, you can't just go out and just hire a guy. Like, you got to run the entire process. So they're going to do all that, and it sounds like that's kind of what they want to do anyhow. Moore said that, like, he doesn't really have a set date on it. He just wants to get the right people. So
smart.
That's good. That's good to know. I mean, like, you don't want to rush into anything. I'm sure he kind of has his favorites, but he just probably wants to talk to a few people or whatever. But you have to anyhow. But yeah, I think that staff will come together pretty quick, though. Like, I think Kellen Moore's a guy that probably has, you know, his guys and the people he wants to.
Yeah, I think he's got his guys, but why not? If you have the opportunity to interview people, what's it hurt, right?
To get and put that stuff together, and I would be surprised if that doesn't happen relatively quickly. So next few days we'll probably see a bunch of guys getting interviewed, and then they'll come to their decision at the end of it. I think a lot of us are expecting, you know, Nussmeier to be someone that he tries to bring over from Philly. It was interesting. Sirianni said the other day that, like, he views it as his staff, and he doesn't want to let a bunch of people go. So
I don't blame you there. Like, yeah, hell yeah. I mean, Sirianni's probably looking around like, yeah. I mean, it's one thing for my coordinator to go, but I don't want everyone to leave. You know, like, Sirianni's trying to keep a Super Bowl winner together. So yeah, I mean, you never know what that could mean for Nussmeier, but yeah, it's not going to be easy. You know, it's not going to be easy for Kellen to just say, yeah, you come, and you come, and you come. You know, he's not Lily Phillips.
Oh, well,
got him.
That doesn't surprise me. You know,
see that one coming?
And I think that's the way it should be. Like, you shouldn't lose a coach and then kind of have everything get gutted. Like, I think that's kind of,
I'm on a different level.
A BS way to do it. And I feel for people when that kind of happens. Like, you kind of just, like, lose your whole team, like, right off a rip. Like, that isn't the way it should go. I might have just made a super illegal turn, but they got Claiborne just completely torn up again. Amazing how that road work wasn't actually.
Oh, he's going down Claiborne? South Claiborne. I've said it a million times. South Claiborne is the worst road in New Orleans. By far. The worst road in the entire city is South Claiborne. Absolute horrible area. Horrific place to be. The worst place in the universe. South Claiborne. Horrible place. Can't stand it.
That shout out to the Super Bowl for giving us like 8 days of a paved road. That was nice when it lasted. But yeah, so the process is going to keep coming together. You're going to keep putting those guys in, and then it's combine in 2 weeks. So there's a lot going on and a lot of work to get done. So
I mean, what an exciting time to be alive. You got the combine in 2 weeks. I want to show you all something here drive-wise.
That was nice when it lasted.
Watch this.
But yeah, so the process is going to keep coming together. You're going to keep putting those guys in, and then
oh, you're crossing the street? Bad news, brother. Bad news. Bro, can you imagine? Like, think about it, ladies and gentlemen. You're crossing the street, okay? You're just walking across South Claiborne. You've had 5 Bloody Marys or whatever's going on. You're walking. I don't even know if they sell Bloody Marys on South Claiborne. You're walking across South Claiborne, and you're crossing the street. The crosswalk sign is out, all right? The walk sign or the hand or whatever, it's out. You're walking across. You're praying that you're not going to get absolutely 360 no-scoped. You're walking across South Claiborne. You're in the middle of the damn road. You see a Kia Soul or whatever Nick's driving. You see a Kia Soul wrapped in the New Orleans football colors. Mike Triplett's face on one side of it. Barreling down Claiborne. You take a look. Hey, I wonder if the driver sees me. And this is what you see. Oh, bad news. Bad news. You were a pedestrian 20 seconds ago. Now you're a traffic cone. Bad news. Or a speed bump, I guess. This is not what you want to see. Right here. This is not what you want to see if you're crossing the street and the NOF Kia Soul's coming at you.
It's combine in 2 weeks.
2 weeks combine. Get some.
There's a lot going on and a lot of work to get done. So they're going to have to evaluate their roster, figure out who's in, who's out, meet with some guys, and then start building it going forward. So it's just kind of cool. It's cool to see, man. It's cool to see. It's cool to see a new start, and it's going to be cool to see how other people do it, because it was just kind of, it was the same thing. Like, it felt exactly the same. And the biggest change we saw over the last 2 years was just sort of like, oh, wow, look, a different way of doing the offensive practice script. And, I think now going forward.
Yeah, I mean, we got excited last year because Darren Rizzi was talking about stretching. Darren Rizzi was talking about implementing a warm-up period. And we were excited about that.
Everything's different, to a degree. It's still going to be Saints DNA. Start building, same front office. Like, it's not a complete reset, but it's
pretty close.
It's pretty strong.
Yeah.
And new philosophies, new thought processes. And I like it. I'm ready for it.
And that also goes into the players you are drafting. Like, guys, it cannot be understated or overstated, I guess, how big of a deal this is. Like, we are going to be targeting new players, looking at new players, bringing in new players. This is the most exciting time for a fan besides when you are winning. This is the ramp up. This is the next set of jerseys you're buying. This is the next set of people who will be on billboards and whatever. Like, these are the guys. Not to wax poetic here, the 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds. Like, I think about when I first started watching football, like really watching football. And I remember, you have your favorite players, and you have your favorite players on your home, and you have your favorite players, but then you have your favorite players on your favorite team. And I remember watching the Braves all the time. When I was a kid, TBS showed every Braves game. So I watched every Braves game. I was a big Braves fan growing up, even though I was in Biloxi, Mississippi. But, like Mark Lemke and Jeff Blauser and, guys like that, obviously Chipper and Javi Lopez. And, you just kind of, it's like a superstar within a league, like your favorite team superstar. The 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds who are becoming Saints fans, who are watching their first set of games or going to their first game or whatever, they're about to find those new superstars. Like, they don't even exist yet. We don't even know who they are yet. Could be Ashton Jeanty. Who the hell knows? They could draft Jeanty at 9. Jeanty could come in, be the next, Jahmyr Gibbs, and all of a sudden, damn, we got the best running back in the NFL. Now, then you see Ashton Jeanty jerseys and signs and all kind of stuff all over the place. It could be Tet McMillan, could be the next Randy Moss, could be the next, big-time receiver. He could be the next guy, like Justin Jefferson, what he did in Minnesota. You just never know. But we're at that beginning. We're at the beginning of, hopefully, 10, 15 years of just upward success and positivity and, journeys and adventures and however you want to phrase it, with a whole new cast of characters. And I can't wait. I honestly feel like a kid on Christmas morning. And I've been watching football at the highest possible level for a long, long time. And I'm excited. So it is certainly an exciting time.
And like I said, I think it feels pretty energizing.
Hell yeah.
So far.
Did you see the speech I gave?
And yeah, I like him, man. I think I like him. I think I like his presence. It's just kind of, he just really comes off, and I wrote a story about this. He just really comes off as like a dude that just really loves football. Like, that's it. Like, that's been his whole life. He's just a dude that really loves football, has really worked hard at being smart at football. And it just seems like that's his purpose, It's just really a guy that feels like that's his entire purpose in life, is to be good and smart at thinking and talking about football. And
man, that's such a good way of putting it. When we watched the press conference, I said he kind of seems like a prodigy, or he seems like he was built in a lab to be a football coach. And that's what it feels like. Like, there's some players who become coaches, or some coaches who kind of back into playing because what else are they going to do? They were a good college player and then a bad pro player, and then this, and this happened, and then they ended up being a coach or whatever. Like, it's just, there's always different roads to it. But he seems like born, born the son of a lifetime high school football coach, idolized his dad, wants to be a coach. His brother's a coach. He, becomes a quarterback, goes to Boise State where he's with Chris Peterson, who's another football genius. Then goes to the NFL, goes to Dallas, is a player and then a coach within 12 months. Then every single step, it's man, this is kind of like an unprecedented track to get to the end destination. The end destination is, all right, fine. You're the head coach now. It's your team. It's your vision. Everything you've been working towards, everything you ever wanted, everything you ever dreamed about, everything you were preparing for since you were 15 years old. When you were buying college playbooks off the underbelly of the internet, you're buying college playbooks to bring to your recruiting visits as a 17-year-old. Since that moment 20 years ago led to this. It led to this moment. And how lucky are the New Orleans Saints that they get to be that pedestal. They get to be the launching point.
And I don't know. See, there's some people who aren't. And there's some people who aren't good at those things or not good at both of them. And he's good at both of them. And to me, it kind of just feels like that's essential to being good at coaching the game. You have to be smart. And you have to be able to communicate well. And you got to be able to explain 100%. Your ideas. And, the curiosity and the thirst for knowledge that he has for the game, I really like it. I really like it. I was watching a mic'd up video of him with the Chargers just during a practice. And at one point, he gets all excited and he tells one of the coaches that they're going to try a blocking drill that he found on Twitter. You got a coach out here on Twitter looking up stuff that they can do in practice. I don't know. How does a guy like that not?
I mean, yeah, 100%. He's digging through Twitter to try and find blocking drills. He's not on Twitter looking at Brecky Hill like most of y'all. You know what I mean? He's not in Sarah Safari's DMs like Burley D. Burley D, if you're watching, God, delete. Just if you're watching, take a step away from Twitter. Yeah, I can't keep watching. He's not modding for Pokimane on Twitch like my guy Crafty or Bucks. He's on Twitter trying to find plays. He's on Reddit trying to find old school passing drills or whatever. I mean, he is a football nerd, football robot, football sponge. Unreal.
Not succeed. We're going to find out. We're going to find out because there's a lot more to it than that. But boy, that really feels like something that's kind of essential to the job.
Yeah.
And if you really love it that much and that's what you're doing, you're watching blocking drills on Twitter, I just don't see how you can't win, man. I don't know. I'm probably gassing a little bit right now, but it just really feels like that's who this dude is.
It feels like the Saints got the smartest guy in the room. And if you have the smartest guy in the room in a job where being smart is rewarded, how can we lose?
And that's just really, you can't fake that. There's an authenticity to that comes through. And that's just really who he is. And that's how he presents and how he carries himself. And it's just how he talks and how he speaks, and you feel it though when he says things. And I think that piece of it is important. I'm not sure that I've always felt that about every single one of the Saints coaches in recent history, and I feel that about him. I feel like this is a guy that's just real with it unapologetically. And yeah, I mean, he's not going to stand up there and beat Dan Campbell, but that doesn't mean he can't succeed either. There's more than one way to do it. And
yeah.
We're going to see. We're really going to see. But I don't anticipate this guy, having trouble bringing it when he needs to bring it. I think we're going to see that in him. And we're making another illegal turn.
Damn, brother.
All right.
Take an Uber. Jesus.
But I like him. Very good first impression. I'll be interested to kind of like hit up some players and see what the feedback is from their perspective of it. Like I'm wondering kind of what some people are thinking. I'm sure they're watching and listening, and I'm sure they're gonna have their thoughts on him and everything. But I think he's gonna get off to a decent start. I think they're gonna give him a chance. I think he'll be able to at least. I think he's going to be able to win people over with how he thinks about the game and how he talks about the game. Because at the end of it, like that's what it's all about. That's really what it's all about. And they really got a dude that loves ball. And line one on the item list, I think if you really love it and you're really passionate about it, that doesn't mean you're going to be great, but I think it's hard to be great at anything if you don't love what you're doing.
100%. Yes, 100%.
Like, I think if you love what you're doing, it's a hell of a lot easier to be good at what you're doing. And he's somebody that loves what he's doing. And
oh, yeah.
I'm going to be interested to see, though, like, man, he is young. Like, he is very young. And there might be some, like, element of growing into it. And I think that's okay, too, though. Like, I think you can grow into this.
But I think that's a positive. Because there is an element of growing into it. He started 6 years old, but there's an element of the team that needs to grow too. It's like they found each other at the perfect time. The Saints team needs to grow. It needs to take that next step. It needs to evolve. It's ready for that next iteration of whatever it is. It's a perfect time for that. It's a perfect time for Kellen to grow, and as he's growing, the team is growing with him, and they're going in that next direction together. Like, it is another one of those serendipitous moments that's just perfect.
As long as, I'll
give you an example. After Peyton left, let's say Kellen would have been hired as the head coach. That probably wouldn't have been a good moment because the team wasn't ready for that next iteration. The team was still heavily, heavily invested in Sean Payton's way of doing things. So it wouldn't have given Kellen the year or 2 years or 3 years to figure things out and grow and instill his identity and his culture or whatever. It just so happens that the team now is ready for that. The players, are ready to shed that. Either the team is going to shed the players, or the players are ready to shed the previous couple of years. But it's just a perfect time.
Things are starting out, and you have a plan and all that stuff, and he does. So we're going to see that. We're going to see how he does with it. Gonna see how he carries himself and what he does with it, and kind of where it goes from there. So yeah, it's gonna be.
Guy's at the gas station.
Will this thing follow me out to the pump? Can I keep talking while I'm pumping?
We're about to do a full live gas situation.
We're about to find out. I don't think he's going to go with me. All right, you know what? I'm taking it off.
Unbelievable. Man on the street. Damn.
This is what we're doing now.
This is
so
crazy.
many people... so many people in the media, like, they love to talk shit about these videos, but you know what? I love doing them. Because I think it's just regular talking, regular go.
You know what's crazy? And I said it, you can go all the way back to the first time I watched one of these. I said it during that video. I said, I have a prediction that these will be the most watched videos that they do. And it's so funny, man. Like, you talk about always having to pivot, always do stuff like that. Like, NOF, big time production, lots of moving pieces. They get the inside access. They get the best interviews, all that stuff. And it's kind of funny. I'm sure... if Nick is watching this, he'll understand what I'm saying, where my man is driving down a busted up road on Claiborne, and he's pumping gas, and the appetite for this video is probably going to be higher than the other videos. And it's just funny how, I know I get wrapped up in it too. I get wrapped up in cameras and mics, and this is a spoiler alert, I'm over an hour into this video, so I can go ahead and tell y'all whatever. We're building a new studio space to do a full-on, like, true podcast. So, and I mean, like, podcast. I don't mean, like, reaction videos or YouTube. Like, I mean, like, sitting down, hour-long, unedited podcast, radio show style, whatever. And we just got all the equipment in. And, you know, it's like Rode microphone this, Rode boom arm this, Shure microphone, Rodecaster XLR this, you know, all these cables and wires and all this other stuff. But then there's an appetite for that, but there's also an equal appetite for, hey, stand in this, you know, Chevron while you're pumping gas and just talk into the mic.
Going regular, you know, it doesn't have to be sort of informal all the time.
See? That's what I'm saying.
Like, nobody wants to watch that all the time.
100%.
You got to get your 87, though. Come on, man. Retry card.
Oh, horrible look. My guy in front of the face of the franchise, in front of the biggest audience in New Orleans, my man's getting his card declined at a sit-go on South Claiborne. Jesus. Do I need to go down? Do I need to walk down the street? Do I need to walk down to South Claiborne and see if my man's walking down with one of the red plastic gas cans? Damn. Hey, fingers crossed. I hope let's see.
Pump's gonna embarrass me now, but yeah.
Come on.
I think
I would lie at this point. I would say, all right, it worked. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. I'll see you later. It worked. I swear to God.
It's gonna be a really interesting time for the Saints.
It's a really
I like the fact that we're at a reset.
You need to reset your card. It seems like reset the meter. Are we good?
I do want to see kind of how he meshes lot of things, because they were kind of more of like a power gap running team up there, and the Saints don't really have
damn discount zone. Brave.
The same type of players. I think you got to have a better offensive line to be able to do that stuff, and I don't know that the Saints have the offensive line for it. And it was interesting too, because like they were just so good at like blending those things.
I'll tell you this too, dirty work. Like this is risky business. Trust me. I've done a few. Like when I went and walked around during the snowstorm, did my video, held my phone. New Orleans is a city where you have to be head on a swivel all the time. I'm not saying that something's always going to happen, but like in this situation, you got to be head on a swivel. And there's a lot of stuff happening around you where it's like, who the hell knows what's going to happen? Who knows who's listening? Who knows who's watching? You know, so it's scary hours whenever you're trying to do stuff out in these streets.
I'm sorry, at the outside zone last year, that I would like to see him kind of maintain some of them elements. I ain't got no money.
See what I'm talking about? You see what I mean? Like my man's trying to do this is a Velociraptor tactic right here, where he's trying to do a video unreal angle from us, but he's trying to do a video. He's got homeless person in front of him distracting him, right? Asking for money. Then a Velociraptor tactic, homeless person other side comes in, and then clever girl.
I don't have any money. Nobody's carrying cash.
I was just about to say that. It's another thing about homeless people. That is if you want to get canceled, that's a great way just to start. When you're starting a rant with, and another thing about homeless people. But, like, the Rouses that I go to, there's homeless people out front all the time. I go to the Rouses downtown in New Orleans. And if you've ever been there, you know what I'm talking about. There is literally a homeless guy standing at the door every single day. And I'll walk in there, and he's like, hey, man, you got 50 cents? And I'm like, no. And then I'm walking out, and he'll be like, you got 50 cents? No. Brother, who has 50 cents? Who is carrying $2? Who is carrying 75 cents or $1.50? You got any change? No. Why would I have change? Most places don't even take cash. The Superdome, cashless venue. Smoothie King Center, cashless venue. You can't even tip in cash. Okay, so plenty of places I go to are no cash. Can't do it. Right. So the homeless population has to get together and figure out a better way to do this. You either do Venmo, you either do Cash App, PayPal, get a QR code, something like that. But I mean, it's not working. It's not working to be like, hey man, you got a couple of dollars on you. No, my man, I got nothing. You know what do you expect?
But yeah, I'd like to see some of the outside zone stuff stay. He said he did some of that in Dallas, so we'll see. I think they'll try to bring a little bit of both, and I think that's probably the right way to do it. Like, I don't think you should be married to one concept or the other. I think you should be able to do a lot of different things. But it wasn't. I don't think it should be lost on anyone that they were good at that last year, and I think they'll.
Yeah, I think Penning and Fuaga specifically really benefited from the running scheme that we had. So it would be foolish to scrap it entirely.
Bring some of it, but really, I think what it really comes down to is building it. You know, you got to be able to build the run game, and if they're building that, I think it's fine. So I don't know. You know, just a cohesive plan is really the thing that I thought made a big difference for the offense last year.
I agree.
I think as long as you have that cohesiveness, I think it'll come together. And I expect Alvin and them to be good in this scheme too, maybe even better. I mean, we're talking about a guy that just ran a back for 2,000 yards last year. So
yeah, I think he knows what he's doing.
I think the offense will probably be better than it was a year ago. Get healthy, have a good plan, build it, and off you go. And I think it'll be all good. So, yeah. I don't know. We're rambling now, running out the clock, filling up the pump. So I'm going to shut this thing off. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.
Wow, what a video! I don't know who this lady is, but what a video! I mean, damn. What a freaking ride we just went on. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that was one of the best performances I think I've ever seen from anybody. I'm talking about myself, obviously. Who are these people? All right, ladies and gentlemen, get on down in the comments below. Another, hour-long video. My God, I'm crushing y'all with the long content. All right, thank you for watching. Be careful out there. Homeless people, get a Venmo. Get a Cash App. Get a QR code. And I will see you in the next video.